無限大な夢の後の何もない世の中じゃそうさ愛しい思いも負けそう
Hello everyone and welcome to LostinTranslationmon Volume 6. I'm May.
And I'm Jay.
And this time we read the 6th volume of Digimon Adventure V-Tamer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, synopsises. Alright, so in chapter 35, Zero is still fighting Omegamon.
And also in the next chapter as well.
And the one after it, I think, as well. Maybe?
I think it's just the first two.
I thought it was the first three. The
No.
point is, it was a long chapter fight, mini chapter. Hideto tells Omegamon not to hold back as they're on the side of good. You know, good will always win.
And it's so weird to me that Gabbo's just like, that means they're on the side of good. What are we doing? They couldn't possibly be wrong.
He is so stressed. He's saying things like, Wait, but if they're good, are we bad? Are we bad? Oh no, we're not bad, are we? Like, he can't comprehend that they may be, like, misguided or wrong or lying at any point.
It is very fair if he's also influenced by the idea that Omnimon must be a good guy.
He says that. He says, but Omnimon is a good Digimon.
But like all of my complaints about every Royal Knight ever, it's not enough for you to tell us that those people are good. Wait, why are they being bad? When they've always been evil.
Well, that's an issue in a lot of Digimon when we meet a Digimon and the character says, don't worry, this Digimon has always been a good Digimon, and then the Digimon tries to murder them.
Uh-huh.
And that happened a lot in Adventure, but I think that's because of the Dark Years, and we're trying to show that the Dark Years are evil and they're turning these normal good Digimon into bad Digimon.
But we did see it with like Leomon, right? Where you see him being good first. And then mind control's a thing, and they show that to you pretty early. So it is understandable that might be the case.
Yeah.
Or you see the gear going into somebody, and then they're changing their personalities. You get to see it, right? And this is why I suggested when I was sort of doing our Frontier recap thing. You don't need it to be, oh, the Royal Knights were really nice to the kids and they said hello, and then it's a betrayal later. You just have to see them in the distance being good. Just get it into your mind that they're good, and that's all you need. It's super frustrating meeting a character for the first time and everything about them is incredibly evil, and then everyone's saying, but they're so good, because there's no point to believe them.
Yeah, that's fair. But at least we sort of know in this that Omegamon is good.
More or less. Like, we find out that he has differing opinions later.
Yeah, and it's a really cool moment, but I guess we'll get to that in a bit.
It's not even necessarily that they're good, it's more that Tai is really good at making compelling arguments.
Yeah, and also Taichi's a good boy. He's a soft boy. I love him.
Did you send your goodest boy? Sure.
I sent Taichi. He is a good boy.
Sorry, no, wait, you weren't around for that last night.
No.
People got food last night, and they sent a delivery guy. And as he was leaving, Sasha goes, I wonder if they said their goodest boy. I go, what? Oh, that was our instruction on the delivery. Send your goodest boy.
Oh.
And I open the door. I'm like, yo, wait, hold on. Come back. He goes, oh, what is it? And I go, it was our instructions, blah, blah, blah. Are you the goodest boy? And he goes, sure.
I bet that happened with V-Tamer. I bet when Taichi shows up, and he shows up to Gabbo, and Gabbo is like, we specifically requested Earth's goodest boy. Are you Earth's goodest boy? And he's like, I hope so.
I wouldn't want to die, but it'd be cool to be the goodest boy.
Yeah, he's like, yay.
He's so awesome. This is the best tie.
Well, I think it is the same as Taichi.
It's not. They're from different universes.
Same name, same person, different universe.
Yeah, and so they have different lives. He doesn't have a sister in this one.
Yes.
They're different people.
And, I mean, we don't know if he actually has a sister because it's never been mentioned.
It has. He was talking to Davis about it.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, and he's like, your sister Kari. I have a sister?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, I just remembered how funny Daisuke was in that chapter.
And keeping in mind that if one of Tai's biggest formative events was him almost killing his sister, if he never had a sister, that would never have happened.
Yeah, and he also would have brought it up when Neo is talking about, his sister.
Yeah, I have a sister. I would know about these things.
I have a sister. She also almost died.
Yeah. But now she's fine.
They could totally bond about it.
I imagine Tai being like, well, my sister all died and she's fine, so I didn't become evil. What are you doing?
I almost killed her.
It was totally my fault too.
No, you're right. They aren't. They are different because, no sister, different experiences.
Absolutely. Probably.
Also, grandfather. Taichi's grandfather was never mentioned in the original.
To be fair, that could have happened. Like, there's no information on it.
I wish they did. Like, I feel like they should have mentioned that.
Well, where did he get his stupid goggles from?
I want every season to explain why the character is wearing goggles. I guess you can sort of see with Takado is like, oh, maybe that's just a thing about Digimon, and he's a Digimon fan.
No, but that only applies in the English.
Yeah, but he's still a fan of Digimon.
Yeah, but he's a fan of the card game.
Goggles are an item in the card game.
Only because of the show.
Yes, but if all the cards exist...
But we don't know if that's necessarily true.
I still like to think that they just...
Because I bet there are cards that would exist that would spoil its own show.
Though the thing
is there a D-Reaper card? Because I bet there is.
No.
No way.
There's not, I don't think.
Oh.
It might be an option card, but not a Digimon card. I've never seen one, but I mean, it could be. But it came out after Tamers, and the Goggles card came out before Tamers. So... The thing is, I would... Also, he picks up the goggles and he says, this makes me a tamer. And Haru wears them because he's a nerd.
Yeah, I don't understand why Haru wears them.
Because he wants to be a protagonist.
I know, but where's he getting that from?
Books and stuff.
And if he thinks that Eugene looks like the most protagonist guy ever, why wouldn't Eugene be wearing goggles as well?
Oh, that's a good point. It's a very good point.
It'd be really funny if one time you saw a little clip of like Haru being like elbowing. I was like, you could get a pair of goggles too.
What about if Haru actually tried to give Eugene the goggles one day? Anyway, we're talking about the manga, not Atmon at the moment. Atmon's for later.
What if the goggles were like a tracking device that Eugene provided way earlier?
No, we're not talking about Atmon. We're talking about manga now.
That'd be really strong.
Zero psychs out Omegamon by pretending to be really hurt and unable to move. And Omegamon gets his sword and it gets stuck in the ground because Zero dodges it.
And then he shoots him and it hits him directly and doesn't do any damage whatsoever. And they're like, oh, no, not V-Wing Blade.
And Hideto's really mad, but then we see that Omegamon is actually barely scratched by the attack. And then Hideto asked why Taichi still fights, and he attacks him and says, look, do you want to die as a hero?
His response is amazing.
It's the best.
Well, I mean, I don't want to die, but I mean, the hero's pretty cool, so I'll be that.
He's like, I would like to be a hero. He's so precious. I love him so much.
I'll be Saikyo no hero.
He's so good. Gabo is upset and wonders if Hideto really is on the side of good, and if they're not, does that mean by extension that they are not on the side of good? And he's quite distraught by this whole thing.
Yeah, if he thought about it for like 6 seconds, he'd probably get over it.
But I think Gabo is meant to be a character who isn't too smart, but sort of acts like he is.
I think that might be the case.
Like, he thinks he's really smart, but he's actually kind of just a big nerd. Like a big dork. I love him so much. Gabo's great. He's my friend.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's shaped like a friend. Zero gets attacked, and then his wings get, like, pierced by the rocks. Yeah, it's quite a painful looking thing.
He gets impaled on these 2 spires that are very conveniently placed.
Oh, you shush. They're just rocks.
I mean, it is. It's conveniently placed that they pierce his wings exactly in the same place on both of them. Just saying. And then he can't escape.
And Igamon tries to save him, and Gabo is being really emotional, and Igamon falls back, and then Gabumon catches him. And it's
that Omegamon's going to, execute him, right? And so Igamon's essentially sacrificing himself for the good cause. Like, he knows that he's not going to be successful in any way, but he has to give it a shot. And Hideto's like, why are you still fighting me? I don't get it.
But at least this snaps Gabo out of his, trauma.
Yeah, and he goes and catches him as he falls. And then Igamon and Gabo get to bond, and they're like, you saved me!
And then in chapter 36, they try to attack together, but they're both fairly weak.
Yeah, Gabo sets Igamon's sword on fire, and he does that. It's one of the tropes in Digimon I do kind of like, which is, yell out the name of my super special secret attack. This'll get you dead. Like, it doesn't even work.
It also is the whole let's combine our attacks thing.
But that should work usually.
No, in Frontier it didn't work a few times.
No, but it worked the first couple times. This is the first time we've seen this, and it's like, nah.
Yeah, which is good because it's kind of like showing you, as you said, like the trope of merge our attacks and it just not working. Hideto says that all 3 of them need judgment, and then he goes to attack them. Taichi asks why he's doing this, and Hideto explains that Rei can't walk in the real world, and the new world they make she'll be able to walk in.
And his response is something like, but Rei wouldn't want this. I've only known your sister for 1 day, but I know everything about her personality and what she wants.
Rei's not Hideto's sister. You do realise that, right?
No, but no, sorry, I must have said that wrong. But he's doing it for Rei because he feels responsible. Yeah. And Tai's just like, I know Rei very well now somehow.
We've known each other for 3 days.
So I know what she would want, and it's not this, which is You know what? It was a really bad argument generally, except that there's a really convenient flashback to, oh yeah, she said pretty much exactly this, and just Hideto had not paid attention to it.
Yeah, well, when they're flying away on Omegamon, when Hideto kidnaps Rei, she just says, Digimon shouldn't die for this.
Pretty sure that was... no, and then the one that they flash back to, though, is when she's in the base and she's talking to Neo.
Yeah, because Rei doesn't want Digimon to die for this sake. And Taichi says that. Taichi's like, well, we shouldn't kill innocent Digimon just to have this perfect world, because that's selfish. Because Taichi's a good boy.
He's the goodest boy.
Hideto doesn't understand why he'd choose monsters over humans and tells Omegamon to kill him with the Guru Cannon. Zero protects Omegamon and Gabo and says that he won't let anybody with false justice win and he'll protect them all. Zero stops the Guru Cannon with his breath arrow, and then Taichi gets like this other move on his Digivice.
What's Dragon Impulse?
Which is a really cool name. I love it.
Aero Vidramon knows too many moves. Would you like to forget one move so you can learn Dragon Impulse?
That's basically what happened. He just
3,
gets more
2,
XP.
1.
Boop.
He forgot V Wingblade and learned Dragon Impulse.
No.
Diddle-diddle-diddle.
He still knows V-Wing.
I know.
He knows all his attacks. He's OP. But at least...
And she only has 3 attacks. He's underpowered.
Well, actually, he is kind of really strong compared to other Digimon, but they make him say, well, the life timeline is sort of going...
They said that he's burning out way too fast.
His lifeline is kind of short now.
It's fine.
Chapter 37 has Taichi saying that he chose the position that they're in because he could use the lightning that comes during the power battles, like lightning. And I'm like, okay, I guess that happened once before.
I didn't really remember, because it's between Volume 5 and 6 was a month, right? I don't remember them choosing this spot. And I think as far as Taichi's like tactical brilliance goes, this is like way down the list.
Yeah.
It's just not interesting.
It's also kind of like, seems like it's sort of, as I said, we have seen this sort of power battle like once before with the Deathmon.
Yeah, and what was it? The phrasing is, he knows there will be lightning when he fights Arcadimon, so he put it here where there will be lightning. I'm like, oh, well, we're not looking at the sky, so there's no way for us to have known that. But the point is, the Dragon Impulse like insta-kills Omnimon.
And Omegamon's, he's super defeated and insta-kills, and Taichi says, you do realize that he did that on purpose, right? He basically killed himself.
Yeah, he forfeited the match. And Hito's like, what are you talking about? I know my Digimon better than you because, reasons.
So then he partitions them, because remember that mechanic that was introduced?
Infinite Jogress.
And then, Taichi's like, oh no, but they can infinite Jogress, and Wargreymon and Metal Garurumon just don't want to do it.
Which is cool.
They said, we lost.
Because I was beginning to have the complaint of where we spent, I think it's 4 chapters, and the last 2 were really the fight, and this one was just the end of the fight.
Yeah.
But we've had 4 chapters of this fight, and it just keeps going, and it doesn't have any of that Taichi, like, I strategically won this fight this way.
It's very much hitting each other.
Yeah, except now, where you find out that what the actual strategy was, and it wasn't even intentional, but the point was, the creative thing that was happening is he was convincing the enemy Digimon they did not want to continue fighting.
Which I like, because I can't imagine Zero being able to beat Omegamon, who is able to infinite Jogress.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Omegamon is, and Gabo says, he's very strong, like higher than Ultimate, a legendary Digimon. How could a perfect level beat that? And like, well, he does with his super attack, but then it seems to take a lot out of Zero. And then if you're able to Jogress infinitely.
Well, particularly we know that after this, we just find out Zero is in no shape to continue at all.
Yeah.
He's just, like, dead on the ground.
So it's a good way to say how to win an unbeatable fight, basically. And without it seem like too much of a cop-out. This was legitimate because Taichi's really good.
This is actually a thing in a book I'm reading right now. They had a whole conversation. The way to win an unwinnable fight, is to convince your opponent they don't want it either. Yeah,
and that's sort of what happened, but we didn't convince Hideto this way, we convinced his Digimon.
Yes, but that's the opponent.
And
right?
also, Hideto does say, who cares about the Digimon, I only care about the humans.
Yeah.
And his Digimon, earshot.
Yeah, well, he screwed up, and what I really like about this is there's no point where I feel like Digimon does this a lot, right? Where when the bad guy makes a mistake or does something, and you just look at it and you go, there it is. There's your mistake that obviously will undermine you, and that's your problem. Everything he set up to this point has been in character and been totally reasonable. And
also, it's grief and guilt that he's experiencing, because he basically blames himself for Rei not being able to walk. So, sure, it wasn't like, it's not really his fault.
Yeah.
It's the person who was driving, but he blames himself and is got this horrendous guilt because of it, and he's, you know, grieving the loss of his friend's legs, and he blames himself. So I think he's, after being told this is a world where Ray can walk again.
It will be.
That sounds great. Like, well, she walks now.
Yeah, but like you can make it permanent.
Yeah, a permanent world where Ray can walk again, and the thing that he did wrong is almost like it never happened again.
Yeah.
So it's good for him for two reasons. It's a selfish way of, the bad thing I did didn't happen, basically. And he also wants his friend to walk again, so they can go back to the time they had before. So he's being completely legitimate, and I like this. This is how you write a bad character who's sort of still good.
No, absolutely. Like he has good reasons, but what's very important is that because he doesn't actually value Digimon life, you can justify the reason he's acting evil, because any higher morality you would have that he would apply to people, you don't have to apply in this situation. So he can be ruthless because he doesn't think it's pretty much real.
And also, it also explains why a good Digimon like Omegamon would be on that side.
Because it seems like it'd be beneficial in the long run.
Yeah, because, you know, it's also the whole thing of it's your partner. You listen to your partner. And that's the thing we saw in Adventure with Metal Garurumon and Yamato.
Yeah, but if the Adventure had the same standards as V-Tamer, then Metal Garurumon would be like, I'm not going and fighting War Greymon, that's crazy. No, mate, you can do this yourself.
You go talk to a tree on your own. I'm not coming with you.
It's a stupid mystic river. I didn't look in the river.
Just don't look into a river and don't believe trees.
Oh my god, Matt. They should never let Matt forget that. They should never let him forget that.
I'm glad the Abridged series isn't.
The Abridged series is so good.
I wish they mentioned it in a trial. I'm like, hey, Yamato, remember that time you just spoke to a tree?
Oh god, I want to watch the Abridged series with Sword Art Online again, because that's a great example of the original show is terrible and like the Abridged series is really good, because they took all the building blocks and just said, okay, this is how we make a good story out of this. And Digimon's like that, where the story's fine, but it's so frustrating because there's all the stuff the fans remember that the writers clearly don't want to remember. Davis wasn't real. He got lost in V-Tamer world. We never saw him again.
What if, though? What if he didn't get back successfully?
What if this Taichi shows up in episode 6 of Try?
I'd pop.
I would too.
It would make no sense.
None of the fans... Well, what do you mean? There's universe teleportation in this
yeah.
one. So you must be able to go the other... between these two universes.
Well, because Parallelmon was there.
Yeah, well, that could just
Bring
introduce it. Just introduce it. It's fine.
Like, I feel like a lot of people say, hey, Ryo should be in... But
No, Ryo's crap, though.
I think that...
He had his shot. He lost.
I also think that maybe V-Tamer is... Oh, I guess not, because Ryo was a character in Tamers, but I think in Adventure, I think people know more about V-Tamer than they do about Anode and Cathode.
You know what's really cool?
What?
I don't know how many versions of Tai there are, but like you could start introducing lots of different versions of Tai. Like there's Back in Time from an original Adventure, and then this one from V-Tamer, and maybe one from like one of the video games if he exists in those. And just like it like forever read it from...
Well, he does exist in Anode and Cathode Tamer.
Yeah.
I think it's Anode and Cathode. It's one of the ones with Ryo. And he's there, but they wipe his memory at the end, so he has no memory of Ryo.
Yeah.
Well, so that's how they basically made it so you don't have to play the games to follow Adventure, because otherwise there'd be a character that Taichi knows but the audience doesn't.
That is what every Japanese crossover does with everything.
Yeah.
Persona Q, I think, does that, where everyone...
It's called just wipe the dude's mind. But that begs the question, does Daisuke know Taichi? Like, I want to have a...
I think...
that's before Ken, though. I think we established that was before Ken.
Yeah.
How come Daisuke didn't go immediately back to Taichi and say, so I went to another universe?
Because he's too stupid to understand what happened. He probably got out of there and,
that was a dream,
then saw Kari and was like, oh, right, I'm feeling things because I'm adolescent, and just forgot. Inter-universal travel does not matter if you're 14. 12? 12.
Yeah. So back to the manga that we're covering. Taichi is saying how Zero is protecting all the Digimon, and Hideto is really upset and mad that his Digimon aren't fighting anymore. And Metal Garurumon and War Greymon say, you used to be someone who would protect us. You raised us from being weak Digimon, and that's why we jog rest, because you were caring.
They knew that Neo said that he should delete them, and they really appreciated that he didn't, and he kept working with them.
Yeah, because that's why. They thought, oh, he's good. He doesn't want to delete us. He will train us even though we're weak.
To be fair, isn't that one of the most like product selling moments when you go, oh, my V-Pet can hear me. It knows what's happening.
Look,
My feet
I've told you that time.
Really?
I've told you that time when I was a kid, right?
No, what?
I think I might have told. I'll tell you again. So when I was a kid, I think I was on holidays in New Zealand, and I had my V-Pet, my version 2.
Yeah.
And I think I'd had a fight with my parents, so I stormed off because I was a horrible child.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, same. And I had my Digimon. I was kind of getting worried because I couldn't find them. And I was like, oh no, I'm lost, and I'm very small and very tired, and I'm very angry. And then my Gabumon evolved to Angelmon, and I was like, it evolved to save me from tears. I was very small.
I have heard that story before, I think, but it's stupid and funny every time.
And then when I was 24, I was having a hard day at work, and my Metal Tyrannomon evolved to Mugandramon.
Wasn't that literally 2 days ago?
No, it was yesterday. Digimon protect me, okay? They protect my feelings.
Oh my god. Holy crap.
Are you crying?
That was really funny.
Maybe your Digimon will evolve if you
I don't
cry.
have any of those, and I'm glad.
I just want to have another season of Digimon where a character is a fan of Digimon and then wants to force their Digimon to evolve, so they start making themselves cry.
It works for everyone else.
Like, hang on, let me cry on my friend. Let me cry on my sister. Can I cry into someone's eyeball? That usually works.
That would be really funny if there was a season where it was like Tamers, where Digimon was a TV show, and they're like an encyclopedic knowledge of it. The main character has like a big fan, and is always talking about like, this worked at the end of Digimon Savers. I'll bring you back. I would laugh. I wonder if that'd be offensive to most of the fandom, but I think it'd be really funny.
I'm going to start punching a lift, because that's how my Digimon spirit will come out to save me.
I hope it will evolve if I punch it in the face.
Thumbs up. Tries different things that have happened before.
Hey, can you grab that bow and arrow and shoot me?
Jesus.
Remember to light it on fire first. It needs to be a light.
Also, rival, please hold my hand, and you get shot too. I promise it'll work.
What? Rival likes Pokemon more.
Yeah, they're just Gary. Taichi says that they don't need to rebuild the world, but all that Metal Garurumon and Wargreymon want and need is for Hideto to become the kind person that he was before.
And luckily, they're just like, that's exactly right. He knew exactly what we were thinking.
Oh, you be quiet. Taichi's a beautiful, beautiful boy.
It's true.
So then he apologizes and they forgive them. And in chapter 38, Demon wants to see Neo, and Ray wants to stop Neo, and then we see 2 adorable little Demi-Devimon show up, and it's really cute. And they show up in Ray's room, and they want her autograph. And they want Neo and her autograph. And it's
Pal
really
and
cute.
Pull.
Pal and Pull, yeah. They're so cute.
And it's the boy one, Pull, I think, who's like...
I think so.
He's all sniffly.
Yes.
And he's like, Neo's so cool! We're gonna get into his room and get an autograph! And she's like, what? He probably would have just, ripped up your thing and, kicked you in the face. And he goes, that would have been awesome too!
It's so cool.
And a bit later when she goes, is this like professional wrestling where people want an autograph but they'd be just as happy as someone doing a move on them? And you're like, I think so. So they try to get Ray to sign, and she doesn't, I don't think. But she says...
She says, take me with you. And then...
she'll hang out with them. And Pal is like, yeah, but you're the bottom of this totem pole, Pal.
And no, but also Pal says, maybe she should be useful. And then she starts wagging her tail like, yeah, sure, you can come along. And then
that means she's scheming.
And Paul's like, yeah, she does that when she's scheming.
You're not about to tell her that much.
Also, man, I think they're Pico Devimon because they look like Pico Devimon. They just look a little bit like... They're a cross between Pico Devimon and Impmon because they're a bit taller. They have a bit of height to them. They're not just wing balls.
No, they're Impmons for sure. Because
they're Pico Devimons.
No, they're Impmons because they have bodies. It's that what?
But they've got like the head of Pico Devimon. It looks like someone stuck a Pico Devimon on an Impmon.
No, it's an Impmon because remember they're working off the little sprites, so it's not correct.
But I'm pretty sure Impmon wasn't designed until Tamers, and this is during 02.
Well, whatever the thing they're pulling this design off then is what it is, right?
Unless they're just their own thing, because they're not fully the same design as Impmon. They look like Pico Devimon, but taller. But
they couldn't be the same design because Digimon the show didn't exist yet.
No, Digimon the show existed. We just had a crossover with 02.
Oh, right, I forgot that it started before, but it continued.
Command Digimon was based off the sprites, and that's why some of the sprites in that were weird.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think there might be Pico Devimon because the design on their hat looks like Pico Devimon and not like Impmon. Like Impmon's like a dude in a suit, basically. they're just a bit taller. It's weird.
I mean, they're clearly wearing bodysuits, but sure, why not?
I need to look this up about if it's actually said, but I'm pretty sure they pick Omegamon. Anyway, they're great and I love them. We see that Neo is sassing Demon and says how he's just a digital monster, and then Demon gets mad.
And then I'm pretty sure Neo just kills him.
Yeah, but that's basically implied.
So that's the end of Demon. We built that all up for Neo to kill him.
Ray's with Pool and Pal, and Ray says that she has no feeling in her leg because Pool hurts her.
Yeah, Pool like whips her and make her go faster.
Yeah.
And she's like, did I hit you too hard? Did I break something? She's like, I don't know. You hit me? Like, I can move, but I don't have any feeling in my legs. Which, I mean, pretty sure is not... Like, the reason you don't have any feeling is because you have no nerves there. If you have no nerves, you can't send them stuff. So it's weird that she is able to move them but has no feeling.
I think it's because it's the digital world and she's thinking about moving.
You're right. It is the script.
Well, remember in Tamers when they go into the water and it's only water because they think it's water. So if you think it doesn't work like water, but you can still swim in it, but you think you can breathe in it, you can.
I mean, we've been over this before. The rules are different in different versions of Digimon.
Yeah, I just try to make...
So you can't pull old rules in.
I just have to apply. I try to make rules apply so it makes a little bit more sense.
Hey, question. Are these Digimon genderless or are they brother and sister?
I think they're brother and sister.
Okay, well, the rules don't apply then.
Yes, I know. I see what you mean. Then Paul and Pal ask Ray who did this to her, and she says it's nobody's fault. So what I like about this is that it tells the reader, hey, you know that thing that Hideto blames himself for? Ray just doesn't think it's anyone's fault. Like Ray doesn't say, oh yeah, it was because my friend distracted me or anything. She shouldn't even mention the person who hit her. She just says it just happened. It's nobody's fault.
Yeah, well, she doesn't blame anybody. And that's a good little contrast to Hideto's guilt, where he thinks it's all about him. And she doesn't think that at all. Also,
I'm not sure I'm remembering this correctly or not, but I'm pretty sure Neo said that it's his fault. It sounds like something Neo would say.
I think he has some partial guilt in the matter as well.
Well, no, Neo said that it was Hideto's fault, I mean.
Oh, was it? Did he? Okay.
Because Neo's not nice.
That's true, he's really not, as we will learn very soon.
Yeah, except for that, the nicest thing he said was, we're not friends, we're rival. If the closest thing would be rivals, but he'd be a pretty okay person to have as a rival.
Yeah.
No, I like that. That's probably the only nice thing he said, though. It's a bit of a nerdy thing to say, like, oh, he's not my friend, he's a raven.
Well, I mean, the other nicest thing he said is, I'm going to take over the world to give my sister her legs back.
That's also nice, but it's still horrible the way he's going about it.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, Hideto is telling Taichi and is blaming himself, so this is also a nice contrast. It's a nice jump of scene. We go from Ray saying, it's no one's fault. And then the next scene is Hideto's telling Taichi, look, it's all my fault. That's why she can't walk. She can't walk because it's my fault. It's all my fault. It was my fault. I distracted her. I should have thought about this. I was careless. It's my fault.
Absolutely.
And Hideto says, I'm going to go and tell Neo to be good. Because I'm going to tell him all this, that Digimon have feelings, and that we should do this another way, or, talk to Ray and see what she wants. We should do this.
And, Neo, he's a reasonable guy. I'm sure I can talk him out of ruling the world.
Zero is healing because we find out that Dragon Impulse attack basically took a lot out of him.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Where did they get this healing tank? They're in the middle of the desert.
Well, remember that part, I think it was either in the first volume or the second volume, how Taichi just pulls a bunch of stuff out of his bag. I think that's...
You know what? That's fair. Because it's all digital code.
I mean, there could have been a scene where he just pulls it out of his bag.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I would have been fine with it. Because you're right. They've already established that you can carry whatever you want with you.
Yeah.
That's great.
But I think that's implied what happened. Well, no, I'm not sure. Maybe this did happen. I'm missing it. But imagine if when he was leaving the town saying, hey, see these tank that Zero was just healing in? I'm going to take one.
They should have said that because it would have been perfectly reasonable.
But instead it didn't, but it's not unreasonable enough that it would just appear.
That's fine. I didn't even think about that.
Did I just convince you of something?
Uh-huh.
That's never happened before.
Oh, it's happened
We actually
before.
had an ask last, it was part of an email and that we read in the Postmon Pat that you weren't away for because you wanted to go to gym because it was late at night.
Yep.
And Ryuichi said, hey, not Rowan, that's your real name.
Oh.
Jay often says, is able to convince me of things and convince me to change my rankings or change my opinion or whatever. Has May ever done the same? And I was like, nope.
Well, you have now.
Yeah, okay, first time.
I'm sure it's happened before.
I really don't think it has.
Fair enough.
I mean, you said Digimon's not terrible.
It's pretty awful.
Atmon's good, though.
Sure.
I mean, I made you watch Atmon, at least.
Okay, but most of Digimon's terrible.
Hideto tells Taichi to not use Dragon Impulse again because it was so hard on Zero. And Hideto tells them to stay there because Omegamon will be enough to beat Arcadimon because he's just a perfect. Then we see that Arcadimon's fighting Demon.
So, wait, hold on a second.
evolved.
He just lost, though. Wouldn't he have thought about it for a second. Oh, I just lost to Zero. Maybe I should,
Yeah, he lost to a perfect.
Maybe Arcadimon's a bit special.
Well, to be fair, he lost to a perfect but could have won.
Yeah, but
And Omegamon basically sacrificed himself.
Arcadimon's like a thing, right?
Yeah. Then chapter 39 happens, and we see that the Alias 3 is there. Yay! Well, Mari and Sigma, my babies. And Mari has changed clothes, and she's really excited about it. And Sigma's just quiet, and Hideto comes up.
His mask is all broken.
Yeah, because, well, still from the fight. He didn't just get it fixed.
He could have. It's digital.
Yeah, he could have just done this and it would have...
Probably.
Yeah. Hideto comes up and says that he's stepping down as part of the Alias 3, and he says that the fight that they're doing is wrong, and he's going to convince Neo of that too.
I think Sigma's just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Sigma says, I'm going to, but he's not using the voice thing anymore. He's actually speaking.
Can't remember, because I know he has a weird speech bubble.
Yeah, but he's still
So
speaking now.
I don't think I could tell, but yeah, probably.
It's great.
And Mari is her name. She's just like, I'll come with you.
And Hideto and Sigma say how they both learnt something in the fight and ask if Mari did too, and she's like, I don't know.
Probably not.
Because she didn't.
No, she did, but we find that out later. She just hasn't thought about it.
Oh yeah, and I kind of like that. Like she's I think she might have the same intelligence level as me. So she's a bit of an airhead, but she's actually quite smart.
Okay.
Remember that time that her plan was just to confuse him because she knew that she couldn't beat him?
Yes.
That was great.
That was funny.
Yeah, and I like that about Mari. There's like, she's not an airhead, but she acts like one. But she really is quite smart. And I kind of like that. Like, it actually adds some depth besides, I'm the girl, lol. It's great.
That's what it is, though.
Mainly because I was worried I was going to be super mad when she came up until she revealed that her plan was just to confuse them.
Yeah. I was just here to delay you.
Yeah, like, well, I knew that you wouldn't be able to beat me because you beat Sigma. So I'm just going to play with you. It's fun. So they're going to talk to Neo, and Neo doesn't care and says that he doesn't need the Alias 3 anymore because he has Arcadiemon. And he says that all he needed was the Digimental power because that was getting power from the 3 battles with the ultimate levels.
You know what the best part of that is?
What?
That explains why they didn't all go together.
Yes.
Because if all 3 of them had gone, there's an argument to say they would have won.
Yes.
But if he needed there to be 3 individual fights, then he would have sent them separately.
Yeah.
Which sort of also guaranteed them losing, but he's fine with that because he planned for it.
Well, he doesn't care. And he says this, he's like, I don't care if you win or lose because I got the power anyway.
It doesn't really make sense how it gathered it, but I mean, like, it's the digital world, so whatever. At that point...
That's the only thing that doesn't make sense.
It makes the plan work. What doesn't make sense to me is how Ray ended up with the Digimental. Like, they ask, and he gives a really crap explanation.
He's basically saying, I don't know, the script probably.
She accidentally ended up in the digital world because she looked at his computer screen when he brought everyone in or something.
Yeah.
And somehow she ended up with the Digimental in the process. I do like when, I think it's Hideto, mentions, if you're doing this all for Ray, why would you endanger her by dumping her in the desert?
Yeah, and that's a good question.
Yeah, and Neo's like, you shut up.
Hideto calls Omegamon, and Sigma notices that Arcadiemon's data is different because he's an ultimate now.
And they're like, oh my god, he's evolving so fast, this is unfair.
Rosemon joins the fight, and Mari says that Neo is uncool and just steps on people's feelings, and that really sucks.
And then Rosemon goes, isn't that exactly what Taichi said? And she's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's cute.
And then that's when I was reading it, I go, hey, where's Piedmon? Oh yeah, he died.
Yeah, he super died. And I was kind of like, and Piedmon shows up, and I was like, oh no, never mind.
And no wonder Sigma's so on board with leaving.
Yeah, just like, well, my best friend, and that's why he's so sad. My best friend died.
I just want to go home.
Arcadiemon gets attacked but isn't damaged at all. And then chapter 40 has Rosemon being defeated by Arcadiemon, and it's really sad.
It's fine. I mean, she's not like she's the first time she's been beaten.
Yeah. Omegamon uses his cape to not get hit by attacks.
Because he learned that in the fight with Taichi.
Yeah, and that's what I like about this. It's not just I will fight you by punching you and then you punch me and then I throw a bigger punch and then I use my super move and I defeat you. It is strategic, and that's what Digimon should be, because Pokemon is always very... Bottom line strategic is do not use lightning against rock, basically.
Yeah, but I think they do have strategies in there a lot of the time where, like, although some of them don't make any goddamn sense, where, like, the quick attack up a hydro pump or something.
Yeah, no, it's like fake strategy in Pokemon. It's just like...
Well, it's like the fake strategy in Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah,
but in V-Tamer, they actually have real strategy, and that's great, because a lot of the times fights in Digimon are, I'm going to just attack better.
So I'm now thinking about the fake strategy in Yu-Gi-Oh!, which up to includes the famous example of combining a card called Catapult Turtle with another card, which is a knight riding a horse, and then he launched the knight on the horse off the Catapult Turtle into a big floating castle in the sky, and And because suddenly physics is part of the game, it brought the castle crashing down, and that's how he won.
That's awful.
Even though it's just a card game. But then, like, other times where one character has perfumed all of her cards differently so she knows what she's drawing.
That's awful.
Also makes no sense, because how would you be able to discern all the smells?
And they'd all they'd be together in the box anyway.
And there's another one which is for all the cards he really wants to guarantee he will draw, he's cut like 1 millimeter around the edge of them, so when he picks up his cards, he won't be holding on to the actual edge of them, and they'll just drop down, so they will sort of guarantee themselves when to the top of his deck when he moves it around.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
I feel like it'd be noticeable.
Oh, it is. First of all, it should be, and second of all, it goes into like a tournament-sanctioned card shuffler, and you'd think that the machine would have noticed.
Yes.
So it's super weird.
Also, no one in that show uses sleeves.
That is true. Unless...
And that tactic wouldn't work with sleeves.
Unless you... It's true. No, actually, no, you're right. There are no sleeves on it. Because I was going to say, unless you think that the weird card backs in that show... Because the card backs in the show are different to the ones in real life.
Yes.
And if you think that those are sleeves. But they're not. You're right. Because he cuts around the edges of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's so bad.
Omegamon is fighting him and is using Arcadimon's blind spots. And then he attacks with Grey Sword, but it breaks.
Nice.
Arcadimon then attacks Omegamon, and Neo says he'll delete them because Hideto won't.
Yeah.
And now I'm very worried for Omegamon, and this volume ends.
Right.
Yes.
And, well, I mean, he gets stabbed in the chest. We
Yes.
have to mention that part.
Yes, but the volume ends, and I'm still very worried about Omegamon.
Well, he's dead. I don't know why you'd be worried. He's already dead.
I don't want him to die.
He's dead now.
What were your thoughts?
It's alright. I mean, like, I get why you make a fight really long, but there was so much fighting compared to everything else in this one, and then compared to the other issues of this, where it starts to drag because it's harder to remember when everything's this big white noise of punching.
No, there was a lot of... Basically, this whole volume was fighting.
Yeah.
But it wasn't terrible.
No, it was fine.
It was still enjoyable. It still had the V-Tamer smiling moments that just make me so happy.
There's a really good one. There's right after the I don't want to die, but being a hero would be good. There's like a really good reaction image of Taichi. I should have got it. Where it's like, what are you doing? Getting angry?
It's so cute.
What are you mad?
This is so cute. I can't get over how cute V-Tamer is. I love it so much. And I also love the fact that everything is easily explained. Like every question that you have, I can just come up with an answer for, because it's actually, they have designed the world well enough.
It's a lot more tightly written.
That everything can be explained.
Absolutely.
Like if that happened in any other season, they just have the big healing tank.
Yeah.
That would make no sense. They don't have bags of holding.
Hey, do you know what that is? And I know it's a much more minor example, but it's called world building, where you've already introduced the idea of how things work, and now you're using it.
See, what I like about V-Tamer, it sort of uses ideas from other seasons in its world building, but it also makes it the own. Like, Digimon name themselves in this.
They do, and I like. Well, some of them do.
We have Leo
Digimon
and Pagemon. Okay, he's probably one of the only ones who doesn't name himself.
Sorry, I'm not getting over the fact. Like in this case, okay, so we've introduced the idea. Oh, you put data into your bag and it compresses, and like it's like a RAR file, and then it expands outwards when you use it. That's great. Introduce a function, use it. These are trains. They go on train tracks, but sometimes they just appear in the sky. Oh, it's just the worst show ever.
If I showed you V-Tamer first...
Oh, Frontier is the worst show in the world.
Do you think you would have liked V-Tamer if I showed it to you first?
Look, I think it's fine.
Because I think of a lot of what it introduced as sort of... As I said, it grabs ideas from other seasons, so maybe the reason it makes so much sense is because...
It has very few ideas from other seasons. What are you talking about?
The fact there are Digimon in it.
That's not an idea from another season.
Okay.
That's an idea from the V-Pet.
I swear there's like a few things. Maybe I'm wrong. Like the whole Digi-Egg thing. Are there Digi-Eggs in this?
No.
No. Yeah, Digimon just die.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you are completely right.
It has a lot of unique elements, and you know what it is? Almost all of those unique elements make this so much more interesting. The idea that Digimon don't actually die, and like even Toma can talk about that in Savers, is so like there's no tension in a fight. It's like, oh, just he's hurt now. Oh, whatever. If your guy dies, I guess you'll just wait for him to hatch again. And I get it. When you want to be an adventure and you got to have like Angemon die and then bring them back and whatever.
Yeah.
But if you want to have a more mature, like not even a more mature story, just a story with stakes in it, like I don't know, kill people and have them actually stay dead.
Also, what I like is the fact that despite Taichi being basically the only chosen child in this.
Yes.
I mean, there are the Alias 3, but they're sort of like more supporting characters than other team. You'd think that would be a negative, but they do it so well that you don't really need like other people, because you've got Gubbo, you've got the characters of the Digimon.
This is what we sort of always talked about a bunch of times, which is the show that is primarily a group of Digimon hanging out.
Yes.
And it is. And they're not all like centered around Tai specifically.
Yes.
I mean, he's the one sort of leading it, but...
And the fact is that Gubbo and Omegamon and every other Digimon that we've met is not destined to love Taichi.
Yeah, and they all have individual relationships with each other.
Yeah, and I like that. I really, really like V-Tamer, and it's still good. But this chapter was just fighting, so there wasn't too much depth or anything.
I'm surprised they never animated this, because if they animated this, it would be better than any other season of Digimon that existed.
Yeah,
It would be legitimately better than most of them.
We haven't even got merchandise from this.
That's weird.
People have been crying out, especially Mark from With the Will, has been crying out for a Taichi from V-Tamer figure.
Yeah, you've mentioned that before.
But we haven't had anything to do with V-Tamer except for the manga, the actual publishing of the manga. That's all we've had.
In this day and age of Japanese light novel adaptations, you'd think that you'd get there eventually.
It deserves it.
Deserves it more than Frontier did.
It deserves a lot more than most of the seasons. And I mean, I love the other seasons, but I feel like V-Tamer has a good world. V-Tamer has a good story. V-Tamer has good characters. V-Tamer doesn't actually have a lot of problems. Like, how often have we had an actual problem with V-Tamer that was not just nitpicking, was actually a legitimate problem?
I don't think any. Nothing major.
Even if you look hard, you can't really find any problems.
So like I said, it's tightly written, which
Yeah.
is more than I can say for all of other Digimon. Even Atmon has problems.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Even Atmon, like, will come...
Who is the Shadow Apply driver?
You said V-Tamer?
Yeah, almost.
And yeah, I love Atmon. I think it's probably one of the best anime Digimon shows, right?
Yes.
But
It's the most enjoyable.
it still has problems. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect thing. I feel like V-Tamer would be a perfect anime series if they
I wouldn't
had
call
it.
it perfect.
If
It'd
they
be
had
much
it
better.
If they had it exactly like the manga, maybe even better, it would be great. But no, we don't get that.
You're right. Things being better than the thing you like is good.
What were your favorites? Your favorite things that happened, or favorite characters? Or
My
whatever?
favorite things is just Taichi being really sassy to Hidetto and like not thinking about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually meaning to be sassy. I think it's just mistakenly sassy. It's great.
I just think it would be awesome to be a hero, okay?
My favourite thing, and this is, I guess, this is the whole of V-Tamer, is, and I really like this, when they mention the V-Pets and they mention the mechanics, or they say, oh yeah, we were really alive there.
And that's
great.
its own thing, yeah. It's a unique mechanic
Guess
to
what?
this one.
Digimon started as a V-Pet.
Surprise.
Address it more. It is my favourite thing. It is. I played with the V-Pets before I watched the anime, because guess what? In Australia, nobody watched the Digimon anime.
Man, how cool would it be to get an anime of this where it's all bloody and gory, like just like in this?
And yeah, it had the same sort of animation style as like an actual like grown-up shonen anime with all the. Oh yeah, that'd be great.
It'd be so cool.
I love that, and I know it's a small thing, and I know that it doesn't resonate with you, but it does with me, because I had that upbringing, and as I said, everyone I knew did not watch the Digimon show, and I only caught it like during the Dark Masters arc. And then after that, like, there was no, like... And I hear about other people talk about this in other places in the world, like, oh, and then I'd go to school and I'd talk about what's happened in Digimon. That didn't happen. Nobody I went to school with watched Digimon. It just wasn't something watched, or at least if people watched it, they didn't talk about it because no one cared. Everybody in the school had V-Pets, and there was a statewide ban on them in school. That's how popular it was, specifically Digimon. There was a Digimon
There's no way
ban.
they'd be able to tell the difference between a Digimon and a Tamagotchi.
No one had Tamagotchis.
I'm saying, but like if you say
It was-
specifically Digimon.
It was electronic pet, in brackets, Digimon.
Yeah, but there's no way that they'd be able to actually tell the difference.
Yeah, so they'd confiscate anything. But Digimon was so big. Everyone had Digimon. Specifically the first version, and I had the second version. And everyone was like, is yours fake? Because no one knew what was the Digimon on the second version was.
It's literally, you live Taichi's life. What's that Digimon? That's not real. You're a hacker.
Yeah, and I had was trying to get Greymon. I never could get Greymon because I had a version 2 and I had Angemon all the time.
Is it that Greymon's not on it?
Yeah, but version 1 was Agumon, Greymon, and then version 2 was Gabumon, Angemon, Kabutorimon, and Garurumon.
That's funny.
I mean, there was other ones too, but those were the main ones that I would have. I never got Garurumon as a kid, though. I thought it was Metal Garurumon when I saw it on someone else's. I don't know why I would think that. But yeah, so V-Pets were really, really, really big here. So I have this quite big upbringing of V-Pets, well, Digimon, And so whenever they mention it in V-Tamers, I'm kind of like, hey, this is great. But I know that you don't feel that way because you don't have the same feelings towards the V-Pets.
I got none of that. Like, I honestly, I knew they existed, and I had some friends who had them. I never owned any myself. And my strongest memory, and I've mentioned it before, was around. It must have been around the time that Tamers was a thing because it had the cards in it. But the guy who had this V-Pet had drawn his own cards and just on cardboard and then like drawn black on the side and says, "Look, it works." I'm like, yo, that's lies. It's all lies.
Yeah, it's because they're just buttons inside. But what do you think about them using V-Pets in this as someone who's not a big fan of the V-Pets and just has a very basic knowledge of them?
I think that giving it the real life basis on this weird fantasy world would make it more relatable and more interesting, and it makes it understandable. So, I mean, it's a useful storytelling tool.
Yeah, I agree, and I really like it. Also, I really like the earliest three. They're my favourites. They're so fun. I love them so much.
Strong group of baddies.
They're good. They are very good. Do you have any other favourites?
Not particularly. I mean, actually, I think that all the motivation stuff is good. I don't know if we've covered it before, though, where, like, we knew that Hideto was guilty, but the specific, also juxtaposition of Rei being like, it was an accident, somebody else, it was the driver, but whatever, it happens.
Yeah, and she's not upset about it, and she barely thinks about it, but Hideto basically has that as his motivation for being evil. Alright, so I think that's that for that episode. So you can find the link dumped in the description. You can contact us and stay updated. You can email us at LostinTranslationmon@gmail.com, or you can comment on this episode or message us on SoundCloud. You can follow us on @TranslationMon on Twitter, and you can find us on LostinTranslationmon on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We have a discussion thread on With the Will and a Reddit thread in the Digimon subreddit, and we would appreciate it if you would review us on iTunes and or Stitcher. We also have a website. Check out some stuff on our website. You should do it. Yay. You can also donate to our Patreon, which is linked in the description, from as little as $1 a month. And that gets you access to our Listener Slack chat group. There are higher levels with more rewards such as notes, early episodes, and more. And thanks to our Patreon supporters, Sam Krieger, who hosts a podcast called The Moncast, which talks about Pokemon and Digimon, Stevie, who is Stevie Patamon on Tumblr and takes commissions, and who is also on The Moncast, Wu Qinglong, who is on twitch.tv/Wu Qinglong, Metal Mamimon, Joe, Anime Guy, who is Anime Guy, Kurosaki, then the number 1 on YouTube, Chuckmon, Ishpol Bumber, Hiro Lato on Twitter, Jason Morosky, Ryuchi, who is at Frostmagic on Archive of Our Own, Stephen Reeves, who is at Wildwing64 on Twitter, Kadawashi, Mac, Noam, Riku, Chisai, who you can follow at Chisai236 on Tumblr, Corey, Kyle, Delady Bugman, whose anime blog you can read at bagubaragu.wordpress.com, Smile Wolfie, who is on Tapastic as Smile Wolfie and has a comic called Eden of Melancholy, Tom, Glitchgoat, Azrael McCall, Nicholas, Gene Hackmon, Matthew, Anthony, who is at Antoclassic on Twitter, Lizmet, Elecmon on Tumblr, Sithobi Elivorg, who is Elivorg on Tumblr, Sporky McForkenspoon, who has another Digimon podcast called Going Digital, Megan, Kyliak, Neoboo, Jams, and The Time Optimist. You can also make a one-off donation on our PayPal, which can be found linked in the description. It's paypal.me/edgemon. Make sure to let us know for the podcast. We'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye-bye!